All right. 4:30 a.m. I took a rest day today and rested, and pounding the coffee and the nicotine does it more than anything to keep me going. I don't recommend it though. Other must include items: semester at sea, seeing China, Africa, and India at 20 years old, and the poverty of the world, and yet people were still happy in the poorest, most filthy neighborhoods and alleys, and then in addition to that, living with these rich Southern Californians on a ship for 3.5 months, let alone the people from New Jersey and the East Coast. So that's a must include. That profoundly changed my life forever. And then Auschwitz. Right when I got back, I basically went to Auschwitz, and I had not only the professors laughing at me, I had students laughing at me as I'd abruptly have to get up and leave. And undoubtedly the worst experience of my life, trying to do something I was never called to do. Wanda's death, no medical marijuana to ease a constant state of nauseousness. Mike's death, no medical marijuana to ease a constant stage of anxious stomach, and he lost 42 pounds in 30 days. Now, that's become a cause of mine. Oftentimes it'll be legal, but there won't be any dispensaries out there to cover the marijuana requirements. Growing up in the shadow of Maddie and Rob, but more importantly Maddie, and the famous story when a bunch of us, you may have been there, were sitting in that little A-framed house before we got into Carolyn, and Maddie turned to me and just said, "Why do you even bother to talk at all?" And I probably didn't talk for the next 6 months. Moving to Colorado was a huge one, as I realized it's been 22 years, that I was in my late 20s when I moved out here, seeing my nieces born, all the workouts you and I did, but also the workouts out here in Colorado. Experience with Bill, I'm jumping around here, experience with Bill Weston's wedding, how we decided to go to the hotel, and the Cupids and Bill ended up in jail for the night, and Lois's mother hung up on him. Being a skilled athlete in 15 sports, and yet never being able to play them again, or at least until Paul Benison's healing comes. My work at BP America, which was going well, until my mom's Lutherized voice came, "He has to get out of the house too." And I was so stupid and incredibly naive. Matt, in 10 seconds, would have figured it out and said, "Mom, I'm not going to make this job if I have to leave the house." But I thought, honor thy mother and honor thy father. Moved into Coal Lake, had a small nervous breakdown, and had to quit the only real job I ever had in my life. We'll turn this over. Jesse Reese. That's a big chapter, and the question is, if I had it to do over again, how would I have done it? And the answer is, I would have had a sexual relationship with her. The weight would not have precluded that at all. And the second question I got, would you have married her if she was thin and athletic? I don't know. You know, all the experience in the metro parks with the flooded roads, and we had the whole thing to ourselves down there. Growing up rich, and then suddenly being poor here in Colorado. First moving out, sleeping in Maddie's basement, and Danica disliked me, I learned later. And the whole writing evolution with the age of the computer, online dating, where I actually did hook up with about 15 women. The final era from my 1,000-poem angry rant period that's now moved on to something much more marketable. Meeting Paul Benison at an all-night African healing service. That's a very rich story in itself. Getting no support from... I can't read my old writing. Getting no support online for all these years, but continuing to appear on the microphone and on the camera to simply practice it. Seeing my mom breastfeed when I was 5 or 6 years old and think, man, that's a cool way to feed a baby. And I had 3 sisters that I remember coming home, and what a rich experience it was to grow up with girls and then women, and how much more I knew about their psyche than people who, like Bernadette, grew up with all girls, or like you, who grew up with all boys. BB gun. BB guns were a big part of my life for about 5 or 6 years, and they unfortunately would play mailbox baseball and come by in a pickup truck, and the one guy standing in the back would just club the shit out of your mailbox. And at 10, 11 years old, I waited to shoot them with a BB gun as the pickup truck flew by. That's how young I was. All of Maddie's antics from the very beginning. There's 1,000 stories. You have 100. I have 1,000 stories to tell about him. And one of them is when Jimmy Gowans, Matt and Danica, and yourself all ganged up on me to defend my young faith. And those were good experiences for a while, and then they just got old. Riding our bikes everywhere. I tell the story on the back of a bike at 2.5 years old, specifically my mom telling me not to go down to the Shivagios, and Robbie deliberately taking me down as a tricycle, so he's just like 4.5 or 5, going all the way down 300 yards, and then the utter shame that I was made to feel for doing something that was utterly safe in those days. Can you imagine a 5-year-old watching a 2-year-old ride their bikes outside today, 300, 400 yards away from the house? Never happened. And a big part of the memoir is going to be about this transition from the innocence of childhood, from riding your bike to T-ball, again, the bike. There was no chauffeur, mothers and fathers working themselves to death. You want to go play baseball, you ride your bike there. And that's completely changed in this era. And someone pointed out the statistic that there were more abducted children in the 60s than in this new millennium. So that's so skewed as the pay-for-profit news just gets off on bad news. The difference of society, kids playing everywhere and no video games. When you played, you exercised. That's what you ran around. You played football, you played baseball, you played tennis, whatever you did. So that's another 10 minutes to think about. And after all these ideas, the question I have to you as my editor is, do you agree with the important stories to tell? The chronological nature seems to be the natural way to go, and not excluding the Auschwitz experience, not excluding the negative experiences with my family, but including them while still emphasizing the comedy And that's real hard to do, but that's what I really aspire to do. All right, thank you.